Pain is often misunderstood. When we go through difficult seasons in life, our first instinct is to believe that we are being punished, that life has turned against us, or that somehow we are not worthy of better things. But pain is not punishment. It is one of the greatest teachers we will ever encounter. Every person who has achieved greatness, every individual who has left a mark on the world, has been guided and refined by pain. The difference between those who stay broken and those who rise stronger is how they interpret it. If you see pain only as a punishment, you will get stuck. But if you see it as a teacher, you will grow in ways you never imagined. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you the most. Rarely do those moments come from comfort, ease, and smooth sailing. They come from heartbreaks, failures, disappointments, and struggles. Those seasons of difficulty pushed you to dig deeper, to discover strength you didn't know you had, to think differently, to work harder, and to develop resilience. Pain does not arrive empty-handed. It always brings lessons with it. But here's the key. You have to be willing to ask the right question. Instead of saying, "Why me?" you shift the question to, "What is this trying to teach me?" That simple shift transforms you from a victim into a student, from someone being crushed to someone being molded. When a muscle is built, it grows through resistance. The pressure, the tearing of the fibers, the discomfort, it all feels painful in the moment. Yet that process is what creates growth. In life, it is the same. Pain is resistance training for the soul. It stretches you, it tests you, it tears away weakness, and it rebuilds you with strength. The person who avoids pain avoids growth. But the person who embraces it learns to harvest power from the very things that once hurt them. There are countless stories of people who have used pain as their guide. Someone who grew up in poverty may use that memory as motivation to create wealth, not just for themselves, but for their families and communities. A person who suffered rejection may channel that sting into developing their skills until they become undeniable. Someone who battled illness may turn that pain into compassion, becoming a source of hope for others who are struggling. These people did not waste their pain. They treated it as instruction, as a mentor pointing them in a new direction. Pain also teaches humility and empathy. When you have walked through storms, you see others differently. You no longer judge quickly because you understand the hidden battles people carry. Pain strips away arrogance and builds compassion. It equips you to connect with people at a deeper level, to lead with kindness, and to inspire with authenticity. Without pain, we would lack the depth to truly understand humanity. Every painful chapter in your life is a classroom. Some lessons teach endurance, others teach patience, and some teach you the value of self-belief when nobody else believes in you. But none of these lessons can be learned if you are busy resenting the pain. You cannot learn from what you hate. You can only learn from what you are willing to face. The ones who rise are those who lean into the discomfort and pull out the wisdom it carries. Pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to prepare you. It does not arrive to take away your future. It arrives to shape it. The question is whether you will waste it or use it, whether you will shrink under its weight or stand up under its pressure. Struggles are often the very ground where strength is built. When life is comfortable, when everything is smooth and predictable, there is little reason to stretch, to fight, or to push beyond what is familiar. But when challenges arrive, when struggles weigh heavy on your shoulders, that is when something within you is called to rise. Strength is never born out of ease. It is forged in the fires of difficulty. Every great achievement, every story of triumph, carries within it a chapter filled with struggle. When you face obstacles, your first reaction may be frustration or despair. You may ask yourself why life is so unfair, why the path has to be so hard. But if you look deeper, you will notice that the very resistance you despise is the thing that is shaping you into someone greater. Just as a diamond is formed under pressure and steel is hardened in fire, your character, resilience, and inner power are carved out through the weight of struggle. It is not the absence of problems that defines strength, but the ability to endure them, learn from them, and grow stronger because of them. Think of an athlete training for a championship. The long hours of sweat, the countless failures, the soreness in their body, all of it feels painful in the moment. But those struggles are not wasted. They are deposits into the bank of strength. On the day of competition, the athlete does not draw power from ease, but from every drop of struggle endured. Life operates in the same way. Your struggles today are deposits into your character, preparing you for victories tomorrow. Sometimes the greatest struggle is not with outside circumstances, but with the voice inside your head that tells you to quit. You may battle self-doubt, fear, or insecurity. These struggles are just as important because overcoming them builds mental toughness. Every time you silence that inner critic and keep moving forward, you are strengthening the part of you that refuses to give up. That is the foundation of resilience. The ability to keep going, not because the road is easy, but because your will is stronger than your obstacles. There are countless examples of people who have turned their struggles into strength. A single mother working multiple jobs discovers perseverance that later inspires her children to chase their dreams. An entrepreneur who fails several times learns lessons that eventually lead to success. A student who struggles with learning difficulties finds new ways of understanding and develops a determination that pushes them further than those who had it easy. These stories remind us that struggle is not the end, it is the training ground for greatness. Struggles also teach gratitude. When you have fought hard to climb out of a valley, you appreciate the mountaintop in a way that someone who was lifted there never can. The taste of success is sweeter when you remember the bitterness of failure. Struggles make victories meaningful. They add weight to accomplishments, and they give depth to your story. Without them, success would feel hollow, empty, and shallow. It is easy to wish for a life without problems, but a life without struggles would also be a life without growth. It would leave you untested, unproven, and unprepared for the challenges ahead. Struggles are not interruptions to life. They are part of life's design to bring out the best in you. The very things you see as burdens may turn out to be the blessings that build your strength. When you face your next struggle, resist the urge to complain or give up. Instead, remind yourself that this moment is shaping you, molding you, and preparing you. Your struggles are not here to weaken you, they are here to train you. And with every challenge you overcome, you will discover that the strength you were searching for was already inside you, waiting for the struggle to bring it out. Pain has a way of connecting us to something larger than ourselves. Often, the very experiences we wish we could erase are the ones that lead us to discover our true purpose. When life is easy, we rarely stop to question who we are or why we are here. But when pain strikes, when we lose something, when our hearts are broken, when our plans collapse, That discomfort forces us to search for meaning. Out of that search, many people discover that their suffering has carved out a mission they never would have found otherwise. Pain produces purpose because it gives you a reason to rise, to heal, and to help others do the same. There are people who have gone through unimaginable losses yet transformed that grief into a mission of service. A person who battled cancer may become an advocate for awareness and support. Someone who grew up in poverty may dedicate their life to lifting others out of the same circumstances. A child who struggled with learning challenges may grow into a teacher who inspires students facing similar hurdles. In each case, pain was not the end of the story. It was the spark that ignited a greater purpose. Without that pain, the mission may never have been discovered. When we experience pain, we often believe it has robbed us of something. It takes away comfort, security, or dreams we once held. But if we are willing to reflect, we can see that pain also gives. It gives perspective. It gives empathy. It gives urgency to use our time wisely. Pain strips away the illusions that life will last forever or that we can wait until tomorrow to start living fully. It teaches us that every day counts, every choice matters, and every moment of healing can be used to bring hope to someone else. Purpose born out of pain carries a different kind of weight. It is not superficial or temporary. It is rooted in lived experience, in scars that tell a story. That kind of purpose inspires people because it is authentic. Others can feel the difference between a message spoken from theory and a message spoken from the fire of personal struggle. When you stand up and say, "I've been through it, and here's what I learned," your words carry credibility that no textbook or seminar could ever give. Your pain qualifies you to help in a way comfort never could. The challenge is that many people stop at the pain. They get stuck in bitterness, anger, or despair, and they never allow that pain to transform into purpose. They waste the experience by holding on to resentment rather than searching for meaning. But those who lean in, those who ask, "How can I use this? Who can I help because of this?" are the ones who discover a calling that lifts not only themselves, but countless others. Pain also creates bridges. When you have walked through darkness, you can reach others still trapped in it and guide them toward the light. People are more likely to listen to someone who understands their pain than to someone who has never felt it. Your scars become your credibility. Your past wounds become a map for others to follow. The very thing you thought disqualified you may be the very thing that qualifies you to serve. When you shift your mindset and see pain not as an enemy, but as a midwife delivering purpose, your entire life changes. You stop asking why you had to go through it and start asking how you can use it. That shift transforms suffering into strength, brokenness into mission, and wounds into wisdom. Pain produces purpose, and when you embrace that truth, no hardship in your life will ever be wasted. Rejection is one of the hardest experiences to face because it feels personal. Whether it comes from a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or being turned down after giving your best, rejection carries the sting of not being enough. Yet rejection is not the end of the road. Often, it is a redirection towards something better. It closes doors that are not meant for you so you can find the ones that are. In the moment, rejection feels like a wound, but in hindsight, it often reveals itself as protection and guidance. Many of the greatest successes in history were born out of rejection. Authors whose manuscripts were denied dozens of times went on to sell millions of copies once the right publisher believed in them. Inventors whose ideas were dismissed eventually changed the world. Leaders who were told they would never succeed grew into voices that inspired generations. Each rejection that could have ended their journey instead became fuel for persistence and resilience. They understood that rejection does not define your value, it redirects your path. Rejection forces you to look deeper at your goals. Sometimes what we think we want is not what we truly need. A job you were desperate to have might have kept you small, but losing it pushes you to create something greater. A relationship ending may break your heart, but it also makes room for someone who will value you in ways you never imagined. The loss of an opportunity can sting, but that very loss may position you for a door you would have overlooked otherwise. When one path is blocked, another is often being prepared, even if you cannot see it yet. The danger is in confusing rejection with identity. Too many people believe that being turned away means they are unworthy, that failure means they are failures. That is not the truth. Rejection speaks about circumstances, not your worth. It says this door is closed, not that all doors are closed. When you internalize rejection as a reflection of who you are, you stay stuck in bitterness. But when you interpret rejection as a signal to pivot, to grow, to seek another way, you unlock the hidden power inside it. Rejection also develops resilience. Each time you hear no and choose to keep moving, you strengthen your ability to persevere. It teaches you to detach your sense of value from external approval and to build inner confidence that cannot be shaken by someone else's opinion. When you are no longer paralyzed by rejection, you become unstoppable because nothing outside of you has the power to end your journey. There is also wisdom in rejection. It reveals areas you may need to refine, skills you need to develop, or attitudes you need to change. Sometimes the no you face is not to block you forever, but to prepare you for when the time is right. What feels like denial may actually be delay, giving you the chance to grow into the person capable of handling the opportunity when it arrives. Seen in this light, rejection is not a wall. It is a mirror showing you what needs work before the next step. If you look back on your life, you will notice that many of your most painful rejections eventually led to blessings you never anticipated. What you once thought was the end turned out to be a beginning. The job you didn't get freed you to pursue your true passion. The relationship that ended allowed you to discover your own worth. The opportunity that slipped away created space for a greater one to appear. With time, rejection often reveals itself not as a curse, but as a gift. When rejection comes, you can either see it as a final verdict or as a detour sign pointing you in a better direction. One shuts you down, the other propels you forward. Rejection is not the universe telling you that you are unworthy. It is life guiding you toward where you are truly meant to be. Pain, disappointment, and challenges have a way of stirring up powerful emotions inside of us. When we are hurt, when life seems unfair, the natural response is to react. Reaction is immediate, it is fueled by emotion, and often leads to bitterness, anger, or despair. But growth does not come from reaction, it comes from response. The difference may seem small, but it is everything. A reaction is impulsive and often destructive, while a response is intentional and transformative. In the space between what happens to you and how you choose to handle it lies the power that shapes your future. Every person faces moments that could turn them bitter. Someone betrays you, someone underestimates you, an opportunity falls apart, or circumstances outside your control knock you down. In those moments, you have a choice. You can let the pain dictate your actions, lash out, and surrender your peace. Or you can pause, breathe, and decide how to respond in a way that empowers you. The first choice keeps you trapped. The second choice moves you forward. Strength comes not from what happens to you, but from how you handle what happens. Imagine a person who loses their job unexpectedly. The reaction might be anger, self-pity, or blaming the world. That reaction consumes energy without producing progress. A response, however, might be to see this as an opportunity to upgrade skills, explore new paths, or finally pursue a dream that was always on hold. The same event, but two very different outcomes, simply because of the choice between reaction and response. Life is filled with people who reacted to pain and let it define them. They became bitter, resentful, and hopeless because they allowed their circumstances to dictate their identity. But there are also countless stories of those who chose response over reaction. They turned their heartbreak into art, their rejection into redirection, and their losses into lessons. They didn't deny the pain. They simply refused to let it control their next step. That is the essence of turning struggle into strength, not avoiding the pain, but responding to it with purpose. Response is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. It begins with slowing down. Reaction is fast. Response is deliberate. Instead of immediately giving in to anger, frustration, or despair, you take a step back and ask, what can I learn here? What action will move me closer to growth instead of deeper into bitterness? That pause may last only seconds, but in those seconds, you take control back from your emotions and put it into your hands. Another part of learning to respond is shifting perspective. Pain can be seen as punishment, or it can be seen as preparation. Struggle can be seen as unfair, or it can be seen as training. When you choose the perspective that empowers you, your response naturally aligns with growth. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as someone in training for greater things. That mindset changes the way you carry yourself, the decisions you make, and the opportunities you recognize. Response also requires responsibility. When you choose to respond instead of react, you are taking ownership of your life. You are saying, this pain may not be my fault, but how I handle it is my responsibility. That shift is liberating because it means you are no longer at the mercy of what others do or what life throws at you. You cannot control the storm, but you can control the way you steer your ship through it. The truth is, pain will always knock at your door. Disappointments will come, heartbreak will come, and setbacks will come. You cannot avoid them, but you can decide how you meet them. Reaction makes you smaller, response makes you stronger. One keeps you trapped in the past, the other prepares you for the future. The choice between the two is where transformation begins. Pain has an energy of its own. It burns, it presses, it weighs heavily, and if left unmanaged, it can consume a person. But that same energy can be redirected. Instead of letting pain crush you, you can decide to turn it into fuel. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every failure carries with it the raw power to push you further, harder, and higher if you are willing to channel it. Pain can either drain your spirit or ignite your fire, and the choice is always yours. Think about athletes who push themselves beyond what their bodies should be able to handle. Many of them recall moments of being overlooked, doubted, or rejected. Instead of letting those experiences break them, they use them as fuel. Each Painful memory becomes another reason to get up earlier, train harder, and stay focused longer than their competition. Their greatness does not come in spite of their pain. It comes because of how they use it. In the same way, every person carries a reservoir of fuel inside them, waiting to be ignited by how they choose to respond to what hurts. Pain is often the most honest motivator. Comfort rarely pushes anyone to greatness. When you are comfortable, you have little reason to move, little reason to grow, little reason to fight for more. But pain forces you into action. The heartbreak that breaks your routine can awaken new determination. The failure that stings your pride can drive you to sharpen your skills. The rejection that makes you feel small can ignite the hunger to rise beyond anyone's expectations. What once felt like the end becomes the very fuel that propels you into your next chapter. There is a principle in physics that energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change forms. The same is true with emotional energy. Pain is not meant to sit stagnant inside you, poisoning your thoughts and weighing down your spirit. It is meant to be transformed. The sorrow of loss can become compassion. The frustration of failure can become persistence. The sting of betrayal can become wisdom. Each painful experience carries the potential to change form, to shift from destructive energy into constructive fuel. The transformation happens when you decide to stop asking why life hurt you and start asking how you can use the hurt. There are countless people who testify to this truth. Entrepreneurs who lost everything only to rebuild bigger. Artists who created masterpieces after the darkest periods of their lives. Leaders who turned the suffering of their childhood into movements that inspired millions. Their secret was not that they avoided pain, but that they refused to waste it. They took what life threw at them and turned it into momentum, refusing to let the weight of hardship pin them down. Turning pain into fuel also requires vision. You need something bigger than the pain to focus on. If you stay focused only on the hurt, you will drown in it. But when you attach that pain to a purpose, when you decide that the energy of your suffering will be channeled into building something meaningful, you suddenly find yourself with an unstoppable drive. The more it hurts, the more fuel you have to keep pushing. Vision transforms pain from a burden into a resource. It is also important to understand that fuel runs out if it is not used. Holding on to pain without transforming it only breeds resentment, bitterness, and hopelessness. But the moment you start putting that energy into action, through work, through creativity, through service, you release it in a way that propels you forward. Pain that is not expressed becomes poison, but pain that is channeled becomes power. Everyone carries pain, but not everyone uses it. Some people let it bury them, while others let it build them. The difference is not in the pain itself, but in the decision of how to handle it. If you choose to channel it, your pain becomes the fuel that drives you past obstacles, beyond limitations, and into the life you were meant to create.